All right, we're live on the air and starting the podcast in 3, 2, 1. Diary of a Trans Woman is brought to you by everyone over at diaryofatranswoman.patreon.com. Head on over to that site to learn more about supporting this show. Hello, everybody. It is Thursday night, which means it is time for Diary of a Trans Woman. I've just decided that Thursday nights is going to be the thing. I am Abby West, coming to you from Detroit, and my BFF and CHI, EJ, is joining us on the show yet again. Hello, EJ.
Hey, Abby.
So you're back.
Dang.
For 2 weeks in a row.
How the heck did that happen?
What does this mean?
Gosh, we should do this more often.
I know, right? I think that is exactly what we're going to do. We have been, EJ and I have been connecting over the past, how long have I known you?
About a year now, maybe?
Okay.
Year and change?
Yeah. We've become pretty good friends, and this show is hard to do on your own. So everybody, welcome to the program, our brand new full-time co-host, EJ Kaiser.
You got it.
Yay!
We probably should have sorted out the very difficult pronunciation of my surname before we before you announced me.
Kaiser. Something like that.
I always thought it was easy because you have the role of the German despot, and I figured people are on board with the Kaiser thing, but I get it like Kaiser all the heckin' time.
Kaiser. Okay. Well, so yeah, this is going to be a thing now. EJ is now going to be a full-time co-host, and hopefully that's going to make things a little bit more interesting. You're not just going to have to listen to my droning voice for 30, 45 minutes a week. We're going to actually try and get onto a decent schedule and kick this into high gear, and I'm super excited to do it. So
it's going to be so dope. Woo!
We got a few things we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about TERFs. We're going to talk about surgeries, and we're also going to talk about some other stuff that I can't remember, and I'm not going to look up because we might not have time for it, because that's what happened last week, and I don't want to let everybody down. So anyways, let's stop talking about how we do the show. Let's go ahead and jump into show. Where is it? Where is it? Here it is. Soundboards are fun.
You ever try to play air guitar and you're just not sure how big the guitar could be? Like, I start going for it, and then it's like little ukulele. I'm like, am I supposed to be up here?
It's an air guitar. You get to make that up. You have like a space one that expands and contracts.
Yeah. I guess the laws of physics don't really apply to an air guitar.
Exactly.
Just your imagination.
Exactly. So yeah, there's been an article going around that we've been kind of talking about. EJ, what's you want to talk about the article?
Oh, this nonsense. I mean, I'll explain. I think everyone knows what it is because I've seen it like a dozen times, but I figured someone might be listening to this in the archives. So I am a woman. You are a trans woman, and that distinction matters.
Oh.
And that picture of probably a TERF with like her mouth wired shut, which is probably the way it should be. Kind of gross to look at. Why is it all like, ugh?
Look at what's the website you're on for this?
I'm on it's medium.com/Athena-talks.
Okay.
A whole thing.
A whole bunch of other stuff.
I guess the original title of the article, if you pay attention to the URL, is I am not a cis woman, I am a woman, and that matters.
So yeah, not bunch of dumb fun stuff. As we can go.
I will say, I googled the article to try to find it again, so I didn't have to dig through links or whatever. And I typed in my best recollection: "I'm a woman, you're a trans woman. There's a difference." And Google said, "I'm a woman, you're a trans man. There's a difference." It's like,
Oh,
okay,
oh,
definitely a difference there. Thanks for being
there
inclusive, Google.
there was an attempt made, maybe,
Yeah, there
maybe
is in fact a difference between a woman and a trans man. So good job, Google.
there is a difference. Yes.
Thanks, Google.
Okay. So I'll go ahead. I can read a little bit of this. Silenced by men first and now trans woman. Will women ever not feel silenced?
Oh man, we're so mean.
I asked why, as a woman who was born with woman parts, is now considered transphobic to want to have conversations about the distinct and unquestionable differences in life experiences between cis and trans women. I asked why, when women have faced systematic violence at the hands of men and 1 in 6 women is raped, is it wrong for cis women to have some spaces just for them to feel safe in a world where they don't? And I was immediately threatened, labeled as transphobic, and left to feel as if my voice was nothing. First off, who wrote this?
Oh, I
Uh,
mean, oh, Live Life and Wolves, a 23-year-old woman fighting depression, PTSD, and anxiety. She's a feminist. She loves sex and she loves animals.
oh boy,
Ugh.
you're. I am not like decades older than 23, but thinking back to myself when I was 23, I did not have everything together.
Oh yeah, when I was 23, I thought I was a dude. That was silly.
Same here. I was dabbling. I was trying to explore and figure the shit out, but my views on many things in the world were very different than the way they are now. So, what is I mean, so first off, like the first two paragraphs are a big thing. I'm gonna there was a paragraph in this that I read. It was like, hang on, I'm gonna find this. I'm going to find this. Oh, look, she uses the term transgendered. That's nice.
Honestly, I had so the first time I saw this article, I saw it on someone else's wall, and there's like, oh, well, I mean, I thought it raised a bunch of different interesting points, and it's so great to like finally get a cis perspective because we don't get enough cis perspectives. Let's be real.
On trans people?
Jeez.
You know, you don't get very many like white people making perspectives on the culture of people of color.
Yeah.
And there's a reason. Because
it's tacky.
There's not a way to
I mean, honestly, I saw the title of the article, and I already knew it was going to be trouble. Like, you were like, "Oh, I got to this part, and I was just out." It was like, no, I saw the preview on Facebook. I'm a woman. You're a trans woman. That's different. Like, there's nothing for me here.
Yeah, and you know what? To be fair, there is a difference. Just like there's a difference between a white woman and a black woman, and there's differences between all different kinds of intersectionality. It doesn't disqualify one from being a part of another group.
Oh yeah, we can't be colorblind. We can't be dick blind. I don't know. What would be the correct term for
that? So yeah, my favorite part, and is actually like the author made sure that this is highlighted in the article. Don't call me transphobic when I fight for your right to your surgeries and tolerance, and use your pronouns while also asking to still have my womanhood recognized as different from yours.
Ugh.
That's like I want a gold star because I'm doing the bare minimum for you.
I called you I mean, yeah, to quote John Oliver, if we all agreed to call the dude from U2 the Edge, you know,
Yeah.
and to ask to use our pronouns, come on, man.
Yeah.
It's not a give. It's not like a favor. It seems so weird to call someone by the wrong pronouns. And if you're like thinking of it as just like, ugh, I use your pronouns, don't call me transphobe. It's like,
Exactly.
okay, you've done the bare minimum. Clappity clap clap clap.
Mm-hmm.
You're great.
Well, you mean
No.
like when I fight for your right to your surgeries and tolerance? Like that's saying like, hey, I think that you should have control over your own body. Give me prize, please.
Oh, and by the way, tolerance is just like, yeah, I tolerate you. I can deal with you. Cool. Like, right, yeah, I don't dig it, but whatever. I'll endure it.
And they link to an article at the end of here. What is this? Oh boy. Oh, I don't even want to get into this, but there's a link to at the end of the article to a Slate article. The trans women who say that women aren't women. The trans women who say that trans women aren't women.
Well, women aren't women either.
Yeah.
No, so this gender critical nonsense, that's the tangled web these fuckers weave. You know, it's just there's like come up with all sorts of crazy hypotheticals and weird ideas and outlandish scenarios to try to find every possible way to exclude us.
Uh-huh.
And it's just like it's never like this turf nonsense. Well, I mean, a lot of the turf nonsense. I mean, to be fair, the some of the people who were discussing this article weren't being so kind to use pronouns, so that was fun. But you know, a lot of this gender critical crap are people who, you know, have these weird ideas when it's just like, no, I'm a lady and that's it.
Yeah.
You don't have, it's not a discussion.
No, and it definitely is, and it's not something. It's not debatable. And I usually just perusing all over the article that was linked at the end of it, with the troubling title of "The Trans Women Who Say That Trans Women Aren't Women." The whole article is talking about how there isn't really a difference between the male and the female brain, and how everyone is basically their own. And so it's not even making that just.
I tell you, so a few years ago, was the first time I tried to play women's roller derby. First time I transferred from my men's league, like came out and started on that estrogen, and like a few months into it, someone was just like, "Hey, let's open a discussion on what our gender policy should be." And one of these, let's call her an individual. One of these individuals says like, "All right, what about the dude who only identifies as a woman for the 2 hours a week that they come to practice and they live as a dude the rest of the time? What if they abuse that policy?" It's like, fuck you. It's not a person that exists.
It doesn't exist, and it wouldn't matter.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that's essentially describing a drag queen.
More or less.
Yeah. Ugh.
And
So,
you're certainly not going to want to put a Ben Nye foundation and play roller derby. So.
Yeah. Ugh. So this is troubling. This has been getting a lot of traction. I've seen it pop up quite a few times in my feeds. Not fun. But yeah, do you have
fighting people on this? People are like, I'm not a transphobe, but here's all this stuff. And I just want to get you to think. That was my favorite. I just want to get you to think. Just like, oh yeah, because I haven't thought enough about my fucking gender.
I'm really glad somebody told me how to think about this, because I just dove right into being trans. Just woke up one day, I was like, well, this is what I'm going to do.
Gosh, I gotta think about what makes me a woman. I gotta think about, oh no, I don't have a uterus, so I have to be different. Oh, I should go hang out with the menopausal kids.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess, and we can take it down a rougher road. Like, what is it about you and me that makes us women?
See, what I like to say is that, like, woman is a word that has meaning but no definition. You know,
Hmm.
it's something that it means something to identify one way or the other. But like for a very long time, I got stuck in this trap where I'm like, I don't identify as a woman or as a man. I'm just me. And eventually, I just had to say, it's just like, oh, well, kind of currents in my life are kind of blowing me in the direction of, you know,
Hmm.
the female, of going toward Venus instead of Mars or whatever. And I just kind of say, it's just like, oh, well, maybe if I just say it and just say it's just like, oh, well, what if I just go with the flow and say, yeah, I'm a lady and go with it? I
Hmm.
mean, the label is important for the sake of identity because it kind of gives you a better grasp on who you are,
Hmm.
but there really isn't any requirements. And generally, once you embrace the label, things start falling into place for you. Things start feeling right, as far as
Yeah.
I'm concerned.
I mean, the reason I throw that out there is like I can go, somebody can ask me that, like, well, what makes you a woman? And I can say till I'm dry in the throat or hoarse, till I lose my voice, that I feel like a woman. This is how I feel inside. And that,
Thanks, Shania Twain.
yes, exactly. I've got a, but that doesn't, I mean, I'm just trying to think of if you have this argument with somebody, because I have had this argument with somebody, what are things to like concrete things that you can use in that situation?
I mean, I asked them, well, do you wake up every morning and say, you know what? I feel like a woman today. Like, how do cis people even think about gender?
We should have Shania Twain on.
Oh, man, we're hitting all the VH1 divas.
I don't know. I spent years feeling like a puzzle piece that was in the wrong spot, and nothing felt right and nothing felt comfortable. And as I explored, like I realized that this actually felt natural and I didn't feel like I was pretending. And yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it kind of was. There wasn't like a coming out moment or a time where I flipped the switch. It was just kind of this gradual thing where it was just like I kind of discounted. I didn't even consider it. Like in retrospect, I can think back to 12 and I was thinking lady shit, and I can think back to when I was small. I was like, oh, I don't hate my body, and plus this white male privilege is pretty cool. So why would I take that jump into this terribly marginalized group? Why
Yeah.
would I do that?
Yeah.
And but I mean, it felt right. I mean, I found out that you can do things to like empower your own agency. It's like because
Yeah.
it feels better and because I want to.
Yeah. I mean, cis men and cis women feel like men and women because society has told them this is what cis men and cis women feel like, but there are certainly outliers. And what happens when those outliers contradict that? I mean, does
I
that
mean,
mean,
do they feel like cis men and cis women, or they just feel like themselves? I kind of always figured that they just it's like, hey, I'm me. I don't know what the difference is.
well, I mean, there is a certain amount of, I think there definitely is like, there's a society pressure to say, like, hey, this is what men do, this is what women do.
I mean, it might be a pressure, but do they feel it like inside them?
No, but I think that a lot of people fall into that role without even realizing it.
Probably.
And I'm wondering, like, because all around the world, the definition of what a man or a woman is and the roles that they play in society and culture vary very drastically.
I mean, the thing, you kind of have to embrace a gender role, to be a
Yeah.
lady, to be a man. You kind of have to embrace the stereotypes.
To,
I mean,
I mean, if we're talking about transgender individuals within the binary,
yeah, and
uh,
I mean, a little bit to get away from your assigned birth gender. it's I don't know. I mean, you can be certainly non-binary for sure.
Yeah.
That's how you feel. But I mean, I found that a lot of it is that growing up and finding out it's just like, oh, women can do anything that men can do in theory. Um, it's just like, okay, so what does it mean to be a woman? And it's just like,
Mm-hmm.
well, I'm gonna do the stuff that technically men can do, but it's kind of discouraged.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that because the roles of men and women in different cultures are so varied throughout the world, I think that what a man is supposed to be and what a woman is supposed to be is so, because the definitions around the world are so varied, I think that that is a big sign that it's just societal pressures. It's just what culture tells us is appropriate. It doesn't mean that it definitely is or is not. I think it's gender. I mean, thinking about it that way, it's fairly easy to think that gender is a social construct.
Yeah, in some ways. I mean, yeah, I mean, it is ultimately socially constructed and it is ultimately like, they say you see you have an outie instead of an innie. That must mean you're a boy. You know,
True, but an outie or an any belly button doesn't mean that.
right on.
I don't know. I
Yeah, it
don't
is
know.
a kind of a construct. But I don't know. I mean, at some level, the justifying what makes me a woman or what it feels like to be a woman or whatever. It's just like because I fucking am. you
Yeah.
know.
Oh yeah, and definitely like that's not proposed to say like I'm not bringing that up to like devalue anyone's identity, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
always
really easy, I think, to kind of feel like you have to cater to cisgender nonsense.
yeah. I do. I mean, I try and always think about different ways to approach different topics and different arguments because I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just exploring that. So, anyways, we can move on to the next topic as we move away from philosophical transgender hour.
Yeah, let's just say fuck turfs and get on with it.
Yeah, fuck turfs.
Ugh.
Oh no, we can't. Oh, that's our only F bomb. I don't want this podcast can't get an explicit tag or else
Oh gosh, I'm
nobody
sorry, I
will.
didn't realize.
Um, yeah, rule. I think that you get like it's basically PG-13 rules. So
Okay,
I think one occasional one is fine, but you know,
okay.
yeah,
I'll be.
I don't care.
I'll get a square jar or whatever.
But okay. Um, let's talk about Canada, surgery, or pride.
Hmm, what a choice.
Send your votes to blah 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 blah.
Well, we talked about pride last week,
Yeah.
although
Okay,
it's. I
let's
guess
do
it
this.
is now, whatever. But
This is an article I got off of Reddit, and it is one of the top rated stories of the month, which really kind of pisses me off. A revolutionary surgery could finally let trans women carry children. This is from Femalista.com. Um,
Femalista.
Femalista. So,
Femalista.
it's a really short article, so I'm going to read the entire thing. You would think a
Cool.
revolutionary new surgery would have a long article, but it's not. A new surgery could allow transgender women to become pregnant. A clinic in Ohio recently started screening women for the groundbreaking procedure, which would allow women to transplant their uterus into a woman who does not have one. The transplant could be conducted on a woman born without a uterus or who had it removed after or who had uterine damage. This would make trans women eligible for the procedure. A 26-year-old woman who is undergoing the screening process told the Times, "I crave that experience. I want the morning sickness, the backaches, the feet swelling. I want to feel the baby move. That is something I've wanted for as long as I can remember." Dr. Christine McGrin, a plastic surgeon, told Yahoo News, Yeah, who knows? The human drive to be a mother for a woman is a very serious thing. Transgender women are no different. That's after the quote, so that's just something that I added. Um, Watch this video, creating a safe space for women. And that's the entire article.
Huh. Sounds revolutionary.
This article has 10 lines.
Oh.
So this is not the first article I've seen since coming out about a revolutionary new surgery. Is it the first time for you?
No. I mean, that stuff comes up all the time. It's just like, we're going to use science to make you better.
You think it'll happen?
I don't know. I mean, I kind of halfway believe the singularity is going to come and nanobots are going to preserve our bodies alive forever. So who fucking knows? Damn it. Not again. Who knows? But I mean, I'd like to poop out a kid. That'd be cool, maybe. Yeah. But you know, I mean, to get this whole lady sack inside me, this whole cis lady sack, this uterus thing, where does it go? How does that even work? That's, I don't know. The kind of mucking around in the body, like in the inside parts.
Yeah, because I mean, the Danish girl was all about that, and that was back in the when was that?
Like a year ago, maybe two.
The movie?
Yeah.
I meant, when did it take place?
A
little more than a year ago.
Something like that. I think
Early
like the late 1800s.
Late 1800s, early 1900s. For anybody who doesn't know, it was Lily Elbe, who was the first transgender woman to receive basically gender reassignment surgery. There's a lot of evidence that she was born intersex, but nobody knew that. Nobody knew anything about it back then. And she had surgeries done to implant a uterus.
I really want Eddie Redmayne to transition already.
I know, right? Like, I'm not happy that it was a cis dude playing a trans woman, but goddamn. Oops.
It's like, so pretty.
Yeah.
I'm infecting you. Oh.
I want Eddie Redmayne in my mouth.
Mm.
What?
Yeah.
So yeah, about that explicit tag.
3 sheets to the wind.
No, but we've this has been tried before and it didn't work. Lily Alba died of sepsis after that procedure. And as far as I know, there hasn't been any. There's been a lot of things attempted on cis women who don't have a uterus or ovaries. What is the, I mean, nobody has, I haven't heard of anybody actually like trying to see if this would work on a trans woman.
And honestly, like I kind of, you know, when they say these things, I'm like, is somebody really raising enough money to think about us?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, given that, you know, every medication we take was made for someone else, you know, I'm just like, are they really throwing all that money for, you know, the big trans lobby?
Yeah, because spironolactone started out as a
Is it an acne med?
Was it acne?
I mean, I know it's prescribed. I went into the doctor a few years ago and I was just like, oh yeah, I'm on estradiol and I'm on spironolactone. I was like, oh, yeah, for acne? I was like, no, I'm transitioning. It's like, I thought you would have gotten that from the estradiol, but I guess not.
Yeah, it looks like the official thing is it's a diuretic. It can help treat high blood pressure. It can also treat fluid retention and high levels of the hormone aldosterone.
Dirty trans fluid retention.
So it's not even like supposed to be a testosterone blocker, but that's what it is.
Hey man, if it works, it works.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, the I just find it hard to believe that they're trying real hard to do clinical studies on trans people for something. It's just like we don't have the money for this. Like we don't even have jobs half the time.
Yeah.
We're not even alive half the time. They really think they're gonna do clinical tests and kind of it seems really complicated and
Mm-hmm.
I don't know anything about this, but I'm wondering if you take the uterus from someone else, is that like does it still get your chromosomes or is it like the egg from the other lady?
Or is it just a case, a carrying case, essentially? You can
Right.
put
Are
one
you
carrying.
turning into a surrogate for somebody else's child?
Yeah, I would think you would just be a surrogate because I mean, trans women and a lot of cis women too who have abnormal abnormalities. Abnormalities. That's a hard word. And cis women too have issues where they don't produce eggs either. And so, how do you could
I have to
carry a
protect
child,
myself.
but it wouldn't be biologically yours.
Unless you impregnated yourself.
You still need an egg.
But it would still be yours on the other side. Like if you
Oh,
stored ahead of time, yeah,
oh, okay.
that would be cool and weird.
Now we're talking. Now
Oh
now this
man, I want to come inside me.
take a
You
turkey
make the Eddie Redmayne joke. We're already way past explicit.
take a turkey baster and go for it.
Oh,
Um. So yeah, I don't know if this is gonna be a thing. Like it's it'd be great. I would love for it to happen, but man, I spent a lot of time making peace with the idea that I wasn't gonna have kids that were biologically mine.
yeah.
And the chances of me being a mother are very low. So,
Right.
um,
And for them to kind of like, maybe,
yeah.
and by the time it's like a thing that you feel safe with, we'll be too old.
Oh yeah. I I think we're gonna be dead by the time it becomes a thing, unfortunately.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
there's just
well, could be.
and by the time they haven't gotten around to talking about the thing about this being something for trans women was something that was just thrown into there by the author of this 10-line article. Um, medical community didn't say that or anything like that. Nobody thinks about trans people anymore. I mean, it's crazy. Dr. Powers, who's my doctor, who has been on the show a few times, like like he hasn't done a ton of work on this. He's just gotten into it and dedicated himself more than any other doctor out there, which isn't saying that much. And already he's made huge discoveries on the topic because nobody has thought to look. The biggest advancements in the WPATH guidelines for transgender healthcare in the past 40 or 50 years. After he's been practicing for less than a year.
And it just blows my mind that we have anything at all.
Yeah.
Blows my mind.
It makes me mad. It makes me pissed off.
A lot of stuff about being trans makes me pissed off.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate how so much of the art with us in it is made for cis people. I hate that the Nazis burned all the documents on us in Norway or whatever in the 40s.
Wait, what?
Yeah, you never heard that story?
No, what was that?
Like up in Norway, they had like the complete compendium of knowledge about trans people during World War II. And when the Nazis invaded, they burned the whole fucker down.
No.
Burned it all. So there was like mountains of research. And this is, I mean, all the more reason to be against the alt-right,
Oh.
It's just like we had a history and it was literally burnt to the ground.
I have not heard this. I'm gonna be looking this up.
It's such
history, Norway, Nazi.
Is it Norway or did get the wrong Scandinavian country.
It might be Germany.
Germany was the Nazis, so
I know Germany was the Nazi.
I thought it was Scandinavia.
I don't know, but yeah, that just sucks.
Yeah.
Oh, so yeah, it's. I don't think it's gonna happen. It'd be nice if it did, but
Like, stop
they're gonna
teasing us.
they're gonna figure it out and go like 5 steps further before somebody says, "Hey, this thing that we did like a while ago, we could do that for trans people."
It's just there's just like no money in trans people, I guess. They're like, oh well, people might do nice things for us occasionally, but
It's
you know,
we get pity votes.
there's no trans babies under late capitalism.
Oh, all right, enough of that. I'm not happy with that. That was more of a downer than I thought it would be. All right. Senate approves transgender rights bill with majority. This is from womanspost.ca.
Wow, the Senate approved a transgender rights bill? Huh.
Oh, not our Senate, not America's Senate.
Man.
Thursday afternoon, the Senate approved a piece of legislation that amended the Canadian Human Rights Act and the Criminal Code to include transgender Canadians. This means that gender identity and gender expression is on the list of prohibited grounds of discrimination and therefore protected against hate propaganda. That's awesome. Awesome. I know we have Emily is up in Canada somewhere. It's a small country. They're up there somewhere.
Seems like a disproportionate number of like trans activists come out of Canada. You know, it's like Jessica Durling and Sophie Labelle, and I have this.
Because they have free healthcare, so they were able to explore it a little bit more freely.
I know it's just.
I almost didn't come out because the cost of transition was going to be too much.
Yeah.
Like it is not cheap to transition in America. Unless
not in Chicago. I recommend the Howard Brown Health Center because they subsidize the heck out of that.
There are a lot of places that do not have adequate resources. There are a lot of places that don't have people that know or care or are friendly to trans people.
I got friends who are like, come on, move to Indiana and hang out with us. And I'm just like, I am never like leaving Howard Brown. I found a thing, and Illinois is just corrupt with Democrats. And you know, as long as we have this flaky outer layer of protective corruption, so I can get my Estradiol and my Spiro at a discount, I'm set. You know, I'm not stepping away from my Illonesian security blanket.
Well, if you try Detroit at some time, go see Powers and see how you think about him.
I've heard good things.
Yeah. He's talking about seeing somebody who lives in California right now. That is insane.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I mean, we travel silly distances to, like, personally, I traveled, 3 hours to Fort Wayne, Indiana to play roller derby. I mean, people fly to Thailand to get self-lubricating vaginas. You know.
Yeah. But I mean, that shouldn't be a thing. Like, yeah, you go to Thailand for the best surgeries or whatnot, but in order to get a doctor who is a doctor, in order to find one
in California, but
yeah, you live in California, you live anywhere in the country, and you would travel, you would take a plane just to see a doctor. That's insane. There should be way more people doing this than just this guy.
I know.
Nobody is. There's a lot of people out there who are like, yeah, definitely, like, trans people are awesome. I'll help trans people.
We're so cool.
I know, right? But Now there's hardly anyone who is like, yeah, I'll help trans people. Tell you what, let's see if we can find a better way to do this.
Like, don't doctors get bored with cis people? I
Yeah.
mean, it's just the same stuff over and over again. It's just like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, boobs and vagina.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't you gonna get bored? I mean, boobs and dick are
Well, I mean,
way
and
better.
Powers has said like he loves what he does because it's helping people. It's making people happy and making people not dead.
Yeah,
Suicide.
I mean that's the other reason why I stay at when I go to Howard Brown in Chicago, which is because I had to mention the queer health network here in Chicago, but I brought one of my friends there for their first for their like first appointment to get estrogen. And they're like, "Oh, I'm really worried. Am I gonna have to like justify that?" Well, it's like, "Don't worry. It's informed consent. This is gonna be the best doctor's appointment you had in your life." It's like, I'm still really nervous. And then she walked out of there. It's just like, that was great, you know. And so it's like when I go to see other doctors, it's like, oh man, I gotta check to make sure my ankle isn't sprained or something silly like that, where I need to like check it on a Sunday or something. It's like, well, okay, I'll try my luck, and usually it's a terrible experience.
Yeah. So I've actually never had an experience with. I've heard like how informed consent works. You get your medication through informed consent.
I do.
How does that work?
Oh, you're gonna love this. You
Go.
go there, and they give you some documents, and they take your blood, and then they get the results on the blood a few days later, and you come back, and then they give you estrogen.
Do you? d- How is that any different than going to a therapist and going through a bunch of counseling until they write a letter that lets you go to a doctor and the doctor prescribes, and the doctor takes your blood and prescribes medication based on that?
See, the difference is you don't have to go to the therapist. You just go to the doctor and say, "I'm a lady. Can I have estrogen?" And they give you a piece of paper that says, like, "Here's what might happen if you take the estrogen." And you say, "Okay, I'm cool with that." And then they give you the estrogen.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Do you get any say in like what your dose is or what they test for?
Oh yeah, they ask you. They ask about it. They give recommendations. Stuff. It's like, oh, do you want to do the pills or the patch or the injection? And they like kind of say that, you only have to do the injection once every 2 weeks, and some people don't like doing it, and there's more of a risk for blood clots with the pills, or they give you the spiel, and then you
Yeah.
can choose what you want to do, and they even like the time, like when I came back after they did my blood work and said that I was, all safe to do it, I decided to go with injections, and this is the first time I've ever plunged a needle into my thigh. But they had like they had some, I guess some fellows there, some interns who were there, and they were just like, they were cheering me on, and they were like, "Yeah, you could do it." It's just like,
No, no, no.
Give,
Oh,
give
no.
me a second. This is just the most important thing that's ever happened in my life.
No.
But they were really enthusiastic about it. I just got so they were cool about it. But I mean, yeah, that's
Yeah.
really it. People don't believe, like, people are so used to trans health fail, and it's just like, this is gonna be great. You're gonna love it. You're gonna tell them you want the pills. They'll say, "Are you sure?" You'll say yes, and then they give you the pills.
That's yeah, if you're lucky enough to have an informed consent clinic around you. I also think I've heard of people who have done that, or I think it was somebody who was DIY, who hadn't done blood tests or anything like that, had been taking hormones for a while. Just they buy them online somewhere. And then they finally get healthcare and they go into a doctor like a legit doctor who's not informed, or I guess informed consent doctors are legit doctors, but a doctor's office that is not informed consent and say, hey, I'm on these medications. And the doctor's like, well, you're already on these medications, so let's just continue and start testing and figuring this out, and didn't need a letter. So I don't know. So now do you happen to know, does your clinic test for estrone? Because I know one of the things that I've heard from a few of the listeners here is that their endocrinologist or their doctors do not do not have a way to test for estrone.
I don't know if they do. I mean, usually they send my blood work off site to Quest Diagnostics, which seems to be the big old blood work firm here locally. I don't know how big they are.
Because I've told you off air what like the whole estrone thing is, right?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Basically, little estrogen, estradiol in like the fakers that take up the receptor spots that make it hard for your body to actually do stuff, even if you have enough estradiol in your system. So, but yeah, apparently, like somebody out in Australia who was their doctor just there wasn't a way to test for it. There wasn't a way to request that from their particular lab. So I don't know if that's an issue that a lot of people face, but
you know all the science stuff. And I just go in there and they're like, hey, this thing might give you boobs. I'm like, great, I'll take it.
yes, please. Oh, well. Yeah, we got time. We got time. Let's do this last one. This is from LGBTQNation.com. Nearly 50 years after Stonewall, trans people still feel excluded at Pride.
Really? Oh no.
Oh, that's a thing.
What a shocker.
Trans women of color Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera were on the front lines of the Stonewall riots, but nearly 50 years later, the LGBTQ Pride events that grew out of these early acts of public resistance still don't always feel inclusive of transgender people. I think we talked last week. You're not a huge Pride goer?
No. I guess you would say I don't feel terribly included by it.
Yeah. I definitely share that sentiment to a certain extent. I think that Pride is a place where I feel, for the most part, safe. Like, well, let's discount Detroit Pride because Motor City Pride was not as awesome and Pride-ish as I would like it to have been. But some of like the other prides that I went to so far this year, I've been to 3. The other 2 I went to, Ferndale and Ypsilanti, were really good. I felt safe there. And that's I think the big thing that I want Pride to be, is a place where I can feel safe. Because even 2 years into this, in 2.5 years, 3 years transitioning, 2 years on hormones, there's still like a little, like I still feel the hairs in the back of my neck stand up on end every time I go into a woman's bathroom.
Yeah.
And so it's very, very difficult to find a place where you feel genuinely safe, where you're not looking over your shoulder, where you're not making sure that you're alert when you're around other people because of something that could happen.
Right.
And so I do like Pride in that, and that's all really I want Pride to be.
Sure.
However, I do think that there is, especially in the bigger Pride festivals, there is a big emphasis on drag culture over trans culture.
Yeah.
And how very exaggerated gender expression is a stand-in for transgender presence.
Right. And it's like it's not helping when some of the big the big time drag performers think they have the right to say tranny and kind of think they the cis dudes dressing as gals and they think they own our experiences.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, like even RuPaul went on a bit of a tirade at one point recently too. So
Yeah, and there was something a little while ago, I think in Split Sided, they did an interview with Lady Bunny,
mhm.
and it was just terrible. You know, they were just, it was just like trans people are too uppity. Meh.
Too uppity. Like,
Too
and
sensitive.
what are drag queens? I think
They, oh, I don't know if you've ever heard the John Mulaney routine about living in his neighborhood with drag queens. It's like, if you want to dress like a gal, go ahead and do that. You can do that. But why do you have to be such a big brassy lady with like a beehive haircut who looks like she came out of a Far Side cartoon? You know what your version of a lady is? It's like a guy. You could have stayed a guy. Why are you mean?
I mean I have a really love and hate relationship with drag. One thing, like, yeah, it is a celebration of our ability to push the boundaries of what is acceptable for men and women, whether it be um, on sexual orientation or gender identity or expression. That's a thing. And it is also one of, like, I mean, drag was the way that trans people were able to be themselves
Sure.
decades ago. That was the only thing that they had. We didn't have estradiol or spironolactone or anything like that. Maybe we had it, just it wasn't used. It wasn't accepted at all. Um, and so I get that. I can respect its history, but I also really dislike it because I mean it's somebody. I mean, drag is not meant to be passing.
Sure.
Drag is supposed to be a drastic over exaggeration of what the female image is supposed to be. And it is a performance art. It is not an identity. It is a performance art. And it is something where a drag queen can go out on stage and be themselves and be presenting in their feminine-esque way for an hour or two while they make singles and perform and get all the baby queer people all hyped up. But then they go and they wash that makeup off and they go back to living their lives as a gay man, or I shouldn't make that assumption, but as a man, um,
Often a gay man.
often a gay man, and for a long time, I remember for the first like year and a half of my transition, I was really pissed off because even with just doing that for an hour and not even trying to pass, their pronouns were respected more than mine were, and they are respected more than most trans people are,
Yeah.
and it's really hard because, and it's also a lot of the trans people that I have seen or known have been incredibly just. I get that there is power in the way that this community has taken back the term queer and turned it from an offensive term into a very endearing term.
Sure.
I love that. It took me a while to get used to it, but now I wear that queer label with a lot of pride.
Ditto.
A lot of drag queens, I seem to see them trying to reclaim a lot of titles, whether it be female, tranny, faggot, homo, that kind of stuff. And it's too much. And I really don't like it.
The problem I have with, and it took me a really long time to kind of resolve how I felt about drag because I mean I understand that there's plenty of people who like turn to drags who like find their identity to play with gender to figure things out to stuff like that and for people to to be able to mess around with gender and push boundaries is great and there are plenty of drag performers who do good art in it and just have a great performance ethic where it's really a craft and you kind of have to hold that you can be, an individual can be a, drag performer and be personally responsible. They can be personally, exploring their own gender, or just they can be socially responsible, things like that. But they can also participate in an institution that is systematically hurtful to us. I mean, they have to accept that even if they are up on stage and they're performing and exploring their own identity, even if they're a trans person, that's great for them, but they're also contributing to the strength of an institution that gives a lot of people the sincerely wrong idea about, what, gender identity is.
Yes. I remember there were a few people I came out to very early on, and I said, I'm transgender. And they're like, oh, cool. Where do you perform?
Yeah, my former therapist, my emotionally abusive ex-therapist, who the first time when I came out to her and I was like, I didn't really know what the word was for it yet, and I was just, kind of saying that I've been spending a lot of time, on some of these cross-dressing supply sites, these mostly British sites. I don't know why they were all British when I was a teenager, but they were. And she's like, I wonder what it would be like if we took you to a drag show. And I was like, not really my scene, but okay.
Yeah. I think one of the big reasons um, why trans people feel excluded and drag culture is so emphasized at Pride is that I mean there are a lot of loud trans people out there.
Sure.
I would like to think that myself and you included are one of the louder trans people out there in the world. A lot of trans people, they go through their transition and they're excited the first few years and they progress and progress and progress, and then they just blend in with everyone else
Yeah.
because that's what they want. That's what I want. The idea of just blending in and being accepted for just being Abby. I do not need everyone to look at me. I don't want everyone to look at me and say and just to be in awe or excited when I walk around. I don't like that attention. And I think that a lot of trans people are like that. While drag is the complete opposite of that. The whole motif behind drag performances is that you want people to get pumped up. You want people to be excited about you. And so it's very easy to look around in queer spaces and see, okay, I think that there's somebody over there who is transgender, but I'm not 100% sure. But this drag queen over here, she sure as hell is pushing the gender boundaries.
Right.
So,
I mean, the alliance between the LGB and the T that's to some extent one of convenience. I mean, that's you can a lot of us fit into two of those signifiers. You can be a trans lesbian, something like that. But it's there's when you think about it, gender identity and sexuality don't have that much to do with each other necessarily.
yeah, I think, and this is a whole different can of worms, and we got to wrap things up pretty quick, so I don't want to open it too big. But I think it's very hard to be. I don't think you can be transgender without being at least a little bit queer.
Yeah, reasonable enough.
I mean, it's and you look at parts in a different way.
Yeah.
It definitely changes the way you look at things, and the shifting and the changing and everything like that. You don't change genders instantly and then change your orientation instantly, and there's overlap, and so there's a lot of, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it mushes around a lot. It's just, I mean, I went from being a straight boy to a trans lesbian, as far as I was concerned. As far as I knew.
Yeah, straight guy to just really queer trans woman.
Yeah.
Which I don't even bother trying to put a label on it anymore. It's just queer.
Yeah, I think Josh Hutcherson, the guy from Hunger Games, I think he said something a few years ago where they asked him about his sexuality. It's just like, well, I mean, I've only gone out with girls until this point, but Who knows? Maybe someday there will be a guy who gets
Yeah.
it going for me. I don't know.
I love that. And
I'm just like, I try not to make grand pronouncements about the future.
exactly. I
But
also
I
don't
use labels that feel nice.
I don't like the term pansexual either. It's just a personal thing.
Yeah, I'm kind of a little bit frustrated because I've seen a couple instances where there's uh, they have the LGBTQIA, and like I've seen P get added on there sometimes. And it's, if you Google that, if you Google where like the P is added, about half of it is people trying to add pansexual into it, which I feel kind of falls under the queer umbrella, but
Yeah.
whatever.
I
And
mean, there's
about half of it are like hateful people on Twitter who's trying to get pedophilia into it. And I'm just no,
oh,
hard pass.
oh, that sickens me. Yeah, I went down that rabbit hole once and I looked into the people who were trying to associate pedophilia with self-proclaimed pedophiles who claimed that they were just part of the queer. They're trying to hitch the wagon on, and so we do not want you here.
Oh yeah, and there's that super cool 4chan scam, the Clover sexual thing, trying to scam people into. You heard about that one?
No, what is clover sexual?
So what it is, they made up this identity to try to describe a Clover sexual as somebody who thinks they are a child trapped in an adult's body who is only attracted to children to justify pedophilia. It's a made-up thing. There's evidence of it being made up on 4chan, but they pass it around to try to like as like a false flag thing to try to discredit us and make the queer movement seem more terrible.
Ugh.
It's the worst.
All right, before we get any like more just disgusting and depressive, I'm gonna go ahead and let's wrap this up.
Hey, Canada
healthcare. If you're in Canada,
woo!
You get protections.
And we're still pretty cool.
I mean, we still have them for the most part in a lot of places, but it looks like we're losing a lot of that soon.
A little bit.
Just a little bit, just on a national level. That's cool. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, head on over, shoot an email over to diaryofatranswoman@gmail.com. EJ is going to be in that. I'm going to get you access to that so you can converse with both of us. I am on Twitter @AbbyGeek. You can find the show @Trans Show. What are you, EJ?
You can find me at SheMX500.
And the show on Facebook is just Diary of a Trans Woman. We are gonna get that Facebook page going again because
say stuff.
I'm terrible at that. That's why I brought you on here, EJ. I suck at social media. If you want to help the show out, 5-star reviews on whatever podcasting thing you use is going to go a long ways towards helping the show out. And
don't tell anyone about the cusses.
Yeah, don't tell anyone that we swear on here. We are little angels, with accents apparently. Damn it. Okay. If you want to really help the show out, patreon.com is where you're going to want to go for that. We are sitting pretty. We are just about to getting that sticker level. I am super pumped to get there. Yeah. Go ahead. Just $1 per show goes a long ways towards making this show happen. Thank you to everyone already over there supporting us. Same Sex Mary provided the music for the show. Head on over to samesexmary.bandcamp.com and check them out. Artwork for the show is provided by Taylor Lane Straw. Taylor Lane Photo is where you're going to want to go for that. Thank you so much, everybody. Be sure to take care and have fun. EJ, you're supposed to say bye.